the standard by which all other metal is measured. We begin with a 1984 classic from their second album, For Whom the Bell Tolls, followed by the 1992 tour anthem, Wherever I May Roam. And then, let's turn down the house and light up the stage for the Auburn University Marching Band and their show, Metallica.
Post-game reaction time. Auburn men's basketball taking down the Oregon Ducks. We're going to talk about the score, the stats, and the storylines all coming out of Las Vegas in this Players Era tournament. Let's get into all those different things right now. War Eagle, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, where we get together, we sit down, and we discuss, share the Auburn experience, which to us is all about a few things: Auburn sports, Auburn culture, Auburn family stuff. An easier way to say it, though, is if it's orange and blue, it is what we do. So thank you so much for joining us in what we're going to be doing on this post-game reaction show for Auburn men's basketball's 2025-26 season, the fifth, whatever game it is of the season at this point. It's kind of nice that we're getting this far into the season now that I'm losing track of it. The Auburn Tigers, in their first game in the Players Era tournament, being out there in Las Vegas, takes on the Oregon Ducks and takes them down by the score of 84-73. We are going to talk about the stats. That includes the individual stats, the team stats. We're going to talk about the storylines amongst all of that, and then other commentary that will come from myself and hopefully a little bit from you all that are watching on the live portion of the show. You can always drop comments on the replay or however you'd like to on social media, however you're getting our content for this particular show. But that's available for you to do, and also what we're going to be getting into on this particular stream today. Let me encourage you, for those of you that are watching live, you can do this on the replay as well. Hit that like button, that share button. Let us know that you're here as well. So many of you are already announcing your presence here. So many fine, familiar faces are joining us, already calling for a statue to be built. Unbeaten Lake has just been great with his commentary and some of the particular streams that we've had of late. So a little kudos for him right there. Devin says it best: Auburn owns the state of Oregon. It does feel like Auburn has had a really good stretch against Oregon in a variety of sports: baseball, football, basketball, for a variety of teams. It's nice to know that we've got that state down on lockdown a little bit right now. But here we are. Let's talk about it in a little bit of detail from you all this evening. 84-73. Now we're going to try, once we go through all the individual stats and stuff, to identify, we'll talk about the big three and then the stat that tells the tale of the tape. But let's start with our individual stats tonight. I want to ask the group, those of you that are watching live especially, who is your player of the game? Oftentimes this is pretty obvious, but we get a few people here and there that like to be a little bit creative with their player of the game. There's a couple of interesting storylines here that we can go with, at least individually too, that I think we need to dive into some detail about. But if you've got a player of the game, or even if there is a certain player that you want to shout out, that you want to talk about a particular thing they did, good or bad, don't be afraid to do that in the chat. Let's start with your leading scorer on the day, which is typically the person that gets the player of the game nod. Look, Todd Pettiford is your player of the game in the scoring, at least 24 points. One of the big things that has been talked about this entire season thus far is sophomore slump. He's in a sophomore slump. Are we going to be okay if he doesn't or doesn't score the way that we're used to? Well, here he is again. Now, he's had a couple other games too where he's slowly come out of that quote unquote slump that he was in, but nice to see him have one of these marquee games on the big stage. So maybe that's just what it is. We've got a little bit of a time here where it looks like Tahad just wants to score his biggest and do his biggest stats on the biggest stage. Did that with Houston already once this year. So Tahad had a really good game, and he really did well tonight. Certainly the fouls are something that we needed to discuss with him too. But here's his full stat line: 24 points, 9 for 18 from the field today, so 50%. Pretty good. I'll take it. 1 for 5 from the three-point arc. Still needing to improve there a little bit. 5 for 6 from the free throw line. He does have 4 assists, 4 rebounds, and he does foul out in this game. He does have 3 turnovers. So I think you could see Pettiford was really wanting to prove himself a little bit on this stage and kind of show that he is still the de facto leader of everything on this team, being the only holdover from last year's team. So it's nice to see him do that. I was very excited. Obviously, with what we've seen thus far from him this season. So good candidate for maybe player of the game. Some of you have already given that to him. WT's already given him the shout out for player of the game. Excuse me. All right, let's go through the rest of the scores here. Only 2 players in double digits tonight. One was to Todd Pettiford, and then, hey, folks, he's back, Keyshawn Hall. Another big storyline for Auburn in this game was Keyshawn Hall. Was he going to play in this game or at all in this tournament after that lateral ankle and foot sprain? And if you noticed at the end of the game there, kind of tweaked it a little bit, but he seemed okay. He even kind of gave the thumbs up over to the bench. I think they were a little bit worried about it. I think I'm sure based on what I saw there, that one's going to hurt in the morning, given that he was already coming back from an ankle injury, but he seems to be okay, and they'll probably be monitoring that. But here is his stats for the night. Got progressively better as time went on. 18 points for him, 5 for 14 from the field, 2 for 7 from the three-point arc. This is just like common now for him at this point. 6 for 6 from the free throw line. Absolutely outstanding for him. 6 rebounds, 1 assist, only 2 personal fouls, no turnovers for him in 36 minutes of play tonight. He plays the most. So not only is he back to playing after his injury, he's back to playing the most minutes, and you can understand why. This is not a shot at Tahad or anything like that. This is simply, I think he is our best player right now, given what we've seen thus far through the first few games of the season. So Keyshawn Hall and Tahad Pettiford are your only guys in double digits. But everybody outside of Simon Walker scores tonight that gets into the game to play in this one. The next leading scorer on here would be Philip Jovic, another one that people were a little bit skeptical about, saying that he needs to step it up or he needs to adjust. And he's put together some just not outstanding numerically games, but just solid games where he's, having a highlight reel or two. He's showing he's much more than just one aspect of this basketball game coming over from European ball. Has a great highlight where he moved through the lane again and didn't even go for a dunk, just went in there to lay it up nicely. So I loved what I saw to Philip Jovic tonight. 9 points for him as the third leading scorer. 100% from the field. That's pretty impressive. I mean, it's only 4 for 4, but also 1 for 1 on his free throws, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 personal fouls, 1 turnover in 14 minutes of play. That's a pretty good little stat line there. I'm going to be honest with you. I think he is pretty dang good tonight as the third leading scorer. So that's your top 3 guys, usually the ones that you're going to be paying attention to the most out of all of this. Not necessarily about a player here, but here's a comment from Unbeaten Lake. Steven is honestly coaching like a veteran, going up against these veteran coaches. Dana Altman is a very good coach. That's a good call out there, Unbeaten Lake. Not only, Kelvin Sampson, all these other things. All of this talk about Stephen Pearl in the offseason, nepotism, did Auburn just make the stupid move here and let Bruce Pearl tell him that the next coach should be his son? I think people once again are starting to see that how stupid some of these comments are if you don't actually do the legwork to, find out why did Auburn have the success it did. It wasn't just because of Bruce. It wasn't just because of Stephen. It was because of this entire coaching staff. And I think what we're going to look back on, we are only sitting here a few games into this season, the inaugural season of the Stephen Pearl era, that Bruce might have made the smartest decision that he could for him, not only himself, for Stephen, but for Auburn basketball, to not lose momentum that he had built up. We'll see how this transpires game by game and for season by season from this point forward. But this is off to a pretty decent start, given what we've seen thus far out of Stephen, out of the rest of the coaching staff and the players thus far. He's been doing a really bang-up job tonight. And there's another great quote that Stephen was pretty funny on the mic up tonight. It was a good time getting to hear him a little bit tonight, a little bit different than his father. Back to the individual stats here. Let's go through the rest of the scores. We have got, with 8 points, Elijah Freeman on the day. Very nice for him. Also 6 rebounds. So kind of getting close to a double-double situation for him. 7 points in the day for Keyshawn Murphy. Nothing really super exciting about all that. Saw some good things out of Caden Magwood. Only gets 4 points on the day. Emeka Oporum on the board with 2 points. Sebastian Williams-Adams gets on the board with 6 points, 1 field goal. The rest comes from the free throw line, 4 of 6. And then Kevin Overton with 6 points as well. He had that emphatic dunk at the end to kind of put a capitalization on everything. So far, if I'm going to pick a favorite player on this team thus far, and there are a lot of options for that, I'm starting to really find myself in the Kevin Overton camp, because clamping down on people camp, because I think he's going to be an X factor on this team. I like all the different things that I see out of him tonight. So a lot of the individual stats there laid out for you. This is coming from Mr. Manville. He says, I'm enjoying being able to watch the growth of this team game by game, literally game by game, ready for the gauntlet and the start of SEC play. Already looking ahead. But maybe you get a little bit of a preview of that if Auburn gets matched up with an SEC team in the third game of this tournament. We won't know that until much later, but a great start for the Auburn Tigers. So nice to see Tahad Pettiford back to his form. I think that's the two biggest takeaways from the individual standpoint. Tahad Pettiford being back to form was a good thing. And then you've also got Keyshawn Murphy showing that he was ready to come back after that injury. It's good stuff there. Good stuff there from the individuals. Okay, let's talk a little bit about team stats here. Now, we are not done talking about the individuals. If there's something that we haven't brought up, mentioned, something we need to spend a little bit more time on, y'all can bring that up in the chat, and we'll go with that prompting as needed here. But let's do the team stats. You all know exactly where we're starting. Say it with me, the big three: free throws, turnovers, and rebounds. Usually, this will tell you the story of the game. We're also looking for the most important stat of the game. It might be one of the big three, but it might not. Let's walk through it and see what we can glean from all of these different things this evening. Let's start with free throws tonight. Everybody, just round of applause right here on this. I'm going to do it around the microphone so I don't knock it. Round of applause. The team gets above my high water mark of 80% to 83%, and I think had pushed it up to almost 86 at one point in the game if they missed one or two at the end. 19 of 23 from the free throw line. Absolutely outstanding. This is how you beat teams that are giving you a little bit of trouble, more so than maybe you were expecting. Oregon is not a bad team. Dana Altman is a good basketball coach. You expect to get a fight out of them, but Oregon was kind of punching back and forth there with Auburn for a little bit. It just kind of speaks to Auburn taking care of a few of these key areas with how they were able to create an 84-73 victory here, an 11-point margin to victory. But yes, it is going to be one of the big things here. Free throws, 83%. It's a good thing. Turnovers. 6 turnovers on the day for Auburn and 18 for Oregon. How about that? 6 turnovers to 18 turnovers. Outstanding for Auburn today. This is kind of, now look, in a perfect world, you don't have any turnovers, right? You're going to have some because you're going to be going up against good defensive teams, or you just may play sloppy. So I think 6 feels about right for this team. You're going to have a few errant passes there, or just some great defensive plays. You get a little bit higher than that, I start getting a little bit more concerned about the game. But when you look at differentials like that by 12, oh my goodness, that's really good. 6 for 18. We're going to do rebounds next to the big three. This one is where Oregon really kind of, and if you watched the game, you saw that they were able to create a little bit of havoc with it. They do win this category, 34-46 in total rebounds, which I feel like most of the year Auburn has been winning this category. Oregon gets that advantage tonight. So Auburn wins 2 out of the 3. One of those with a very significant margin. Decent margin for Oregon as well in the one that they won, but that kind of tells you how this game was close at times, but Auburn really made a difference in some of the things it did with one of these big 3 stats tonight. So I can't say this enough. It is my expectation that college basketball teams should be able to hit 80% free throws. And they did. Is this the first time it can't be the first time this season that they did that. I thought they did an outstanding job. This is from Fielder's Choice. He says, still having a few too many defensive lapses, but we're getting there. Looked a little sluggish in the first half, but rolling in the second. Yeah, you always wonder with these travel, unique situations, what that's going to look like with the team. But also think about this. You're going to play 3 games in a row. And this is not much different than the Maui Invitational or anything like that. But it'll be interesting to see how sluggish maybe they are tomorrow, given bumps and bruises, tweaks, ankles, things like that, especially after getting into the 3rd game. All right, let's walk through the rest of the team's stats and see if we can find the most important one that tells the tale of the tape. I don't think we're going to see anything better than that turnover margin, but let's see. 46%. Wow, my eyes. 46% for Auburn from the field. 38 for Oregon. They win that one. 3-point percentage, not good for either team. Much worse for Auburn, 22-27. So it was not a good 3-point shooting game at all. Points off of turnovers. Auburn doubles up Oregon 14-7. We've already done the rebounds. They won both of those different categories under the rebounds. Second chance points, 16 of 22 in Oregon's favor. I think that probably got a little better at the end of the game there too, where Auburn was creating some more turnovers, it felt like. Bench points tonight, 21 for 12. Remember how big a discrepancy that was, I think, in the Jackson State game? It was at least 1 or 2 games ago. Auburn wins this one 21-12. From the bench, your starters tonight were Pettiford, Overton, Murphy, Elijah Freeman, and Hall. So Magwood, Walker, Oporum, Williams, Adams, Jovic, all tonight are their bench guys, and that's where your points came from for them in the 21-point bench points category. Points in the paint, 38 for Auburn, 24. That one's a little bit shocking to me with the way that Oregon was able to out-rebound Auburn, and as many times as it felt like they were putting back baskets underneath there with some of their bigs. I'm shocked that points in the paint wasn't in the favor, at least, of Oregon. Fast break points, Auburn's wins by a small amount. Auburn wins in blocks. Auburn wins in steals, 12-3. So that's a big thing right there. They might couple together when we're looking at some of those things here in just a second. So that's the team stats right there. If I'm going to pick, if you have a pick for the stat that's the most important of this game, individual or otherwise, you can feel free to share it. The 2 that stick out the most to me, other than being super happy about the free throw percentage, is going to be the where did it go? I lost it. Oh my goodness. Turnovers, 6 for Auburn, 18 for Oregon, but couple that with the steals in this game. Auburn gets 12, only 3 for Oregon. I'm going to switch up. I think it's the steals in this game. Yeah, turnovers and steals go hand in hand together, but that's just a big in one small area of the game. I mean, you got blocks, you got steals, you got dunks, you got layup, one small aspect of the game, 12-3. That's pretty big discrepancy right there. So I like that. I like that a whole lot. That'll be my pick for stat of the game. The free throw stat means so much. Could have cost us the game. It could have, but it also won us the game. And you wonder, if Auburn doesn't shoot well from the free throw line, what happens in this game? Does Oregon find themselves in a situation where they can flip the script and upset Auburn? Because this would have been an upset, Auburn being the ranked team, and things like that. Just last stuff on the game, kind of the flow of everything. You've got times tied, 7, the time tied, 4 minutes, 13 lead changes. Auburn led 30 minutes of the time. Oregon only led 5 minutes of the time. Scoring was tied at the halves, 37-37. Auburn outscored Oregon 47-36 in the second half, resulting in your 84-73 score. If there's anything that we have missed, anything that we haven't talked about in this game that you want to discuss, I know it's a late one. Tomorrow will be even later. Keep that in mind. This is the first of 3 games that we're going to be discussing. So strap in, boys and girls. There's going to be a good one tomorrow. A rematch of the Sweet 16. Auburn and Michigan is going to be a lot of fun. We won't know game 3 quite just yet, but you've got a busy week just as a Auburn fan, as a consumer of our content. Let me show you a little bit more while you're thinking about some more commentary comments that we need to address from you guys on this stream. What you've got coming up this week, again, keep in mind, all tentative. This week is going to be crazy for me, as I've said, just in general for you as the Auburn fan, but tomorrow night, that's pretty surefire. Auburn, Michigan post-game stream, just like we're doing here. Join us for that. Now, Wednesday is going to be unique because we don't know who we're playing yet, and we don't know when we're playing yet. So I have some travel things that are going to affect potentially this, but also we may have a conflict because normally we do Auburn Family Night. I have a feeling we're going to have a conflict. I'm just kind of the way things are going these days. So we're going to have to kind of keep that up in the air. I also have some travel things, as I said, they're going to be a little bit dicey. So just stay tuned. Your best you can. We'll be doing one or the other or both on Wednesday night. And of course, Iron Bowl weekend. Lots of content from that. Tiger Walk live stream. If I end up getting a ticket, I'll be in there sharing stuff. But if not, I'll be sharing stuff from around campus all day for the first night game in Jordan here for the Iron Bowl. And 18 years. It's going to be a good one. So make sure you are following if you are not. Okay. Let's see here. Unbeaten Lake starts us off. I always say never go 0-3 in these tournaments because it matters down the road. Well, I mean, this is where people build their, not only do you build your resume, but where people build their opinions of you. When I say people, I'm thinking the people that make the decisions for the tournaments, the NCAA tournament, excuse me, not tournaments, the tournament. And also, you want to have a good showing here, too, not only as a team, but as a fan base so that you continue to be invited back, which Auburn always does. You got to be a good basketball team to be invited, but you also got to bring the people with you, show the interest on the TV. And I no doubt that they have done that and will be able to do that as well. Hunter had a question in the middle of this. Will we break out orange jerseys this year? Seems like there's a superstition around them last year. If you're talking about basketball, I am not sure exactly, if that's what that's a Clint Richardson question. That's something we'll have to ask him about on that particular one, but I'm not sure, anything about that. Looks like we've covered the majority of your comments and topics from this particular game here. So let me round out our conversation here with you all. If you've got any last minute things, drop it in. As a reminder, your final score 84-73. The big stat of the game that I think it was after looking at things in a little bit more detail, the steals 12-3. Yes, you could look at turnovers because those go hand in hand, but 12-3, Auburn really just probably created its 11-point differential here just off of that alone. And then I think the player of the game, it's got to go to Tahad Pettiford, especially around all the narratives of he's in a sophomore slump or not. 24 points tonight. Outstanding day, even though he has to foul out in this particular game. I love the energy from him, though. It's nice to see Tahad back, and I know it'll make the fans feel a lot better about him. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, being part of our little family within the Auburn family. You are great as always. Saddle up. Fun, busy week if you are the Auburn fan and part of our little family within the Auburn family. As we go, I want to remind you, the Auburn Creed asks you to do these things. Do justly, love mercy, walk humbly with God. We ask you to do the same. War Eagle.